Now before I start insulting people, I would just like to thank everyone who watched the video and to those who liked it. I have no idea how it got so many views, but I'm very appreciative nonetheless. Can I just say that I played 1300 plus hours of Halo Wars, so if you disagree with my video, then you're obviously wrong. You'd think I know what I'm talking about. I mean, I've played many other RTS games as well, such as Age of Empires, Age of Mythology, and Dawn of War. The people who seem to disagree with me are simply gravitating towards the fact that I support rushing. If you hate rushing, then you're obviously a casual player who has never played quote unquote high level. And that's fine, but don't simply slander a whole video based on your little disagreement on a strategy. I'm going to make a video on the subject sometime in the future. I would also like to point out the fact that no one, to my knowledge, appreciated the Halo Wars 2-esque graphics I added. They took a long time to perfect, but hey, who cares, right? Okay, so now that I've said all that, let's start reading the comments. I won't spend too much time on each of them, as there's a lot. So I'll start with the top comments. These will be juicy. Alright, so scrolling down here, let's go. 497 comments. Oh boy. We'll scroll past my comments. Yep. Alright, we'll have a look at the comments underneath here. Hey buddy, guess what? They're not Covenant. You spelled that incorrectly. They can have whatever mech they want. Okay. Right. Well, the problem is that they didn't give me a taste of potentially what the other faction will have. So I don't know, and I still don't know, if they've completely removed the vampire. And that's just what I don't like, how they could potentially have removed the vampire when it was in the original game. But removing units it's never a good thing. And that's just why I didn't like the mech. But sure, they can have the mech just for the banished faction. I'm fine with that. I don't care. But just as long as perhaps in the elites faction or whatever the fuck it is, they keep the vampire. Okay, that's just my argument with that. All right. Okay. Blah blah blah. Alright, we'll skip that one. I want Warthog rushes back. Only bitches without tactics rush. Okay, 18 thumbs up. You guys really hate rushes. I don't understand. Because fucking there are popular YouTubers who just Halo Wars YouTubers who all they post is brushing. And they get very good ratings and views. So I'm not sure why there are so many people who hate rushing in my comments. I'm really confused by that. Like Topher, Kai's, I think Marco did a lot of rushing videos in ones. So I'm kind of confused by all that. No, I'm talking about the video that do wants Warthog rushes back. The discovery of Warthog Rush ruined Halo Wars 1. Rush tactics on RTS games is for people without any experience in RTS and that suck at the game. Oh boy. You are correct. In fact, I like Halo Wars 2. Halo Wars 1 was nice, but people who do this kind of rush never experience RTS. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'll make a video kind of addressing rushing and why it's fun. It's why I played 1300 hours of Halo Wars. If I didn't rush, I'd get very bored of the game very quickly. And I definitely wouldn't be playing the game. So, I mean, like, I would have stopped playing years ago, was what I'm trying to say, if I didn't rush. It's just like what makes it fun in the high level community, if that's what you want to call it. There's all that. Halo Wars is funner. Okay, guys. Funner. Alright? Funner. In skirmish mode than in Xbox Live. That's very cute. That's cute. Halo Wars 2 is an improvement and feels like an RTS. Okay, so you're saying Halo Wars 1 wasn't an RTS? And Oh boo-hoo, micromanaging is so hard. I'd rather just make hogs and tanks or banshees and scarab. What the fuck is banshees and scarab? What? Hogs and tanks? Do you mean hogs and tanks at the same time? Because that's retarded. Banshees and scarab? Still sort of retarded. There's no such thing as micro for console RTSs. Fool. There definitely is micromanaging in Halo Wars. You need to be able to do it. It's definitely a big part of Halo Wars. So this comment is invalid, I guess. Alright, here we go. Here's a long one. Alright, so Dwayne Watkins 90 got 12 thumbs up for his comment. Let's read it. Dear Mr. Sandman, I played at least 35 matches or more on this beta. After I played my first 3, the game felt better. Reason and domination, it now pushes you to go for the objective more than rush to kill the other player, which is great since it's an objective match. But in deathmatch, the point of the match is to knock out the other player, so rushing is fair game. Now for the population, I like it. It feels you have to have more thought to what unit to use, and yes, it stops spamming to a point too. If you think about it, when you make an infantry unit, there's more than one person in the unit, so yes, it makes up more population. Or they change it to one person at a time for the big one. Big units should take up more population, that way people are not spamming the units like the jetpack brutes. The controls do feel off from the first one, so I agree with you on that subject. The UNSC is way weaker than the Banished, hard to keep anything alive. Death animation doesn't bother me much, the tanks do need a buffing. The Kodiak, I love, oh my god this grammar, to over the Cobra, and the Kodiak need to stay hidden when fired, seeing that the artillery, it's artillery, the vehicle's snipers. My last thing is to stop asking for the Banished to look more like the Covenant. The Banished is not the Covenant. They stole some tech from the Covenant, yes, but that doesn't mean they have to build it the same way. I wish they changed more of the Banished units from the Covenant, even the weapons that they hold. My thoughts on your thoughts. In future, could you please have better grammar so it's not so difficult to read? Otherwise, I just stop reading it. Also, how did this get 12 thumbs up if it's barely legible? I don't understand it. That's just my opinion on that whole thing. So on the turrets, the first bit, I kind of wrote the script before Deathmatch came out, so then I added to it later. But to do with the turrets in Domination, yes, I don't like them. I think you should be able to rush no matter the game mode, but I can certainly see where you're coming from in that respect, so it's not a big issue, I guess. I guess I just won't play Domination game mode or whatever. Population, I'm sorry, but for a sequel, I think population should increase because it's a more powerful console, and obviously you'll be able to play it on PC, so even then it's more powerful than the Xbox One yet again. So I think a population increase is not a too big of a deal to ask for, so I believe I'm entitled to have a larger population than we did in the first game. Yeah, the UNSC is definitely needs a buff. Kodiak, I think the Kodiak should definitely be able to be seen when it fires like the Cobra, because otherwise it's just way too OP. I saw a video actually where Dominant, I think his YouTube name is, I don't know what he goes by, but that's his YouTube name, and he was talking about that as well, and I talked about that in the video as well. So I'm glad someone agrees with me on that. Okay, so the reason I was asking for the Banished to look more like the Covenant is because they didn't show me that the other two factions, if you will, were going to be... I thought like, I have no idea how they'll look, how the other two factions will potentially look. So I was just worried that this is the new look of all the Covenant units that are going to be in the game. That's just my worry. But if the Banished are look like this, that's fine. But just please keep the Elite faction looking like the Covenant is all I ask for. Okay, so now we'll move on to another comment again about base turrets, blah blah blah. Okay, so I really like the two currency system. I think removing it would dumb down the game. The reason I don't like the two currency system is that it slows the gameplay down, and an RTS is, in my opinion, slow enough for most people. So to add, I don't know, a further annoyance, I don't know how you phrase it, but just having two resources that are produced at different rates and are also used at different rates. It just begs the question, why? I just don't think it fits into Halo Wars 2. I think they should just stick with supplies and leave it at that. And just, go back to the way generators used to be. But that's just my opinion. I mean, I think the whole triple upgrading your units in the buildings was just a further annoyance which I don't want to have to deal with. How fucking pessimistic can one be? Well, when you get so hyped for a game that you see how much it's, I don't know, kind of fell down on so many areas of the original, it's just makes you really sad, and you have to make a video about it. I'm not going to click on that. So from what I can see, many of the complaints right now go as follows. You're annoyed when using the Xbox controller on a console PC hybrid game. You're annoyed that they change one of the buttons. You dislike how units collect supplies are noticeably slower than before. Unnoticeably? It was like at least 5 times slower. You can't hoard as many units, and wow, this building makes my base look ugly to me. Well, sure, you can call me out for saying, oh, this new building makes your bases look ugly, but it's just, again, I'll reiterate and say it's an added annoyance to slow down the game when it really doesn't need to exist. Did you have any good legitimate criticisms in this? Maybe the Unit 1, which can be explained that because balancing is different in this game, so it lets you have less of certain units. Okay, we've already gone over that. You can still have a ton of units as in the version. Almost 30 warhogs in Halo Wars 2. Bullshit! I showed you 16 at the 80 population mark. That is nowhere near 30. And then in the Halo Wars 1, you could get 40. That is nowhere. They're not the same thing. 30 and 16 are not the same numbers. I'm sorry. If you want an army horde game, then play something that is actually an army hoarding game. From that point on, you mostly complain about balancing and bug issues in the beta. That's just the nature of my video. Fine, if they fix them, that's good. But I'm allowed to criticize things in the beta. That's what the beta exists for. That's why the beta exists. So I'm sure I'll criticize bugs, glitches, whatever. That's just to help the developers. Next, the reason behind not having the same reactors as before is that it restricts what you can build at what times. Before, you used to be able to build reactor levels extremely fast and just tech up in the first 5 minutes. Sure, you can build tech really fast in Halo Wars, but you can't be building units at the same rate as you progress your tech. So you have to balance it out. That's how it's balanced in Halo Wars 1. Sure, you can get to Tech 4 really fast, but you'll have no units. It's balanced. There's no need to change the way of how how it used to be in Halo Wars 1. People were getting Scarabs at 10 minutes or getting the 3 tanks or 3 Spartans in just a few minutes as well. Well, 3 Spartans and 3 tanks are not that OP, dude. And that's just one map where you can get Scarab in 10 minutes. Or maybe Frozen Valley, whatever. Also, I find it funny how you complain so many times about how they changed things from the last game. You like the old one better, but then you'll complain about how they brought back the rock, paper, scissors mechanic. I complained about one thing they brought back from Halo Wars 1 out of like 30 points. How is that hypocrisy? I don't see how I was being hypocritical at that point. I just don't think rock, paper, scissors needs to exist. I don't know. It's not a big thing, but I just don't think it needs to exist. Basically, all your points are just opinions. Okay, fine, they're opinions. That's correct. Things will be fixed at the end of the beta. How do you know they're going to be fixed? I should point them out. I'm allowed to point them out. They're issues with the game. In my opinion, wait to make videos like this for when the game comes out. Because right now, none of the... Okay, so no. Wait until the game comes out. That's stupid. I need to have made that video as soon as possible so that potentially the developers will see it and they can fix things. What if they miss some things? What if they haven't played Halo 1 as much as I have, as much as many people have, and so I think I have a unique kind of outlook on their new game, and so I think my video was perfectly valid to produce at the time that I produced it. So no, I don't agree that I should have waited until the game come out. That's just a stupid point. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so Cody Morris. My thoughts on the new Halo Wars game in comparison to the first. I don't really like the use of all caps. Kind of annoying. I guess he's making titles, but you don't need to make titles, you just make paragraphs. Makes it easier to read. Covenant's only means of healing units were the engineer. Had to spread them around for emergency healing, but didn't cost anything, and there's no cooldown. Okay, so Unity had the heal area effect, costed money and had the cooldown time, but you could do it anywhere without sacrificing pop. Marines had combat medics to heal the surviving MP. Cyclops could heal all but infantry. In Halo Wars 2, old infantry units have different roles, but ET versus Unity infantry archetypes are just about the exact same with only minor differences. Unity has all healing unit now. I think he's meant to say air healing unit now. And it is an air unit just like the ET's healing unit. Okay, back to Halo Wars 1. The Covenant had range anti-air infantry units and infantry to fight armor. Unity had short-range AI and Marines. Okay, this is a bit difficult to read because it's very incoherent. So in regards to this, I'm pretty sure he's just trying to say it's too similar now, and I would have to agree with that. The Banished and Unity both have the healing, and it's all too similar now in Halo Wars 2, which is kind of a shame. Yeah, so that's basically what this is all saying. Buildings. The only similarity in bases between Cover Unity and Halo Wars are the supply buildings, unit buildings, and turret sockets. With the Covey building acted more like a hive. For one, tech tier costed a lot less, and the tech building could be moved to any socket without losing its tier upgrades. Due to the teleporters, you could bring units from any base to the front line immediately. Looking at this, the Covey would appear very centralized. As for the Unity, it's much more rigid. The tech tiers were expensive, and then brought to another level of expensive due to some units and upgrades requiring a higher tech tier than Covey could achieve. Even then, it brought into another level of expensiveness if you lose tech tier buildings, since its upgrades wouldn't be saved. The saving grace of this is you could build tech plants as many times and anywhere you wanted. While you could build units at any base, you had to put effort into rallying them with flags, or the Pelican transport. The building in Halo Wars 2 beta is exact same, like mirror reflection same. So again, he's saying the same sort of thing as before. He's saying it's the factions, the Banished and the Unity, are too similar now, and I agree. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Okay, so armor. This is a plus mainly because each faction's vehicles actually acted differently from one another, but only due to the Unity artillery. However, the differences end there. How you could even compare the artillery to ET's Locust. Okay, so I think ET is supposed to stand for extraterrestrial. Now that the ETs now have AA vehicles, it streamlined the whole faction archetype. In Halo Wars 1, only the Unity had vehicles that were geared to specifically fight other unit types. The Coveys didn't, but what they had to counter that with their AV infantry. In this perspective, the Covey infantry were the most part geared to counter other unit types. I'm not really sure what you're trying to say there. I guess I'm not really. It's kind of a bit of a jumble right there. Uber units and air. Once again, this is different. The air between Covey and Unity was worlds apart. The Covenant only anti-infantry, anti-air unit is an air unit itself, but with an extremely useful ability, which I'll get into a bit. The Uber units could move across all obstacles, however the Scarab could not walk down into huge indentions in the ground, which I call void areas. The Vulture could fly over areas that were basically void space. The Vulture even had an ability that could output huge damage on one unit, which had a very small cooldown timer. The gripe in Halo Wars 2 is that Uber units were just about the same. They're both air, and their attacks are pretty similar, save the ET's lockdown ability. In Halo Wars 1, the Coveys could only have almost 2 Uber units, the Scarab, if you centralize and manage the rest of your pop with well thought out units, and around one Scarab, you would be number 1 on everyone's shit list. Who would be doing the shitting can be up to you. Oh my god. For the UNSC, at most one could have 6. Just one Vulture could totally change the flow of a battlefield as well, but it can be totally shut down if the Coveys use a stasis drain on their rather cheap money AA unit. This makes the Vulture a support unit in contrast to the Scarab's frontish nature. Vulture a support unit. I've only ever seen Vultures used in big masses effectively to take out one base, and then pretty much they get wrecked after they've killed one base. So I wouldn't call Vultures a support unit. Did Halo Wars 2 even have any Uber units? Well, I know the UNSC had the Vulture, but what about the Covenant? Yeah. So he's basically just describing Halo Wars 1. Commander power and heroes. There is almost no difference between Atriox and Cutter's command structure. I'm praying that this is due to the commercialized rivalry, and the command structure on the other leaders will be way different. As for the heroes, in Halo Wars 1, right off the bat, you can tell the difference with how the Coveys have one hero unit. Their leaders made the whole faction more centralized than the Unity. They could use command power at any time at the cost of draining resources. The Unity, however, could use their power. As for the Spartans, in their own right, they are incredible units, as they can effectively carry units in the beginning and are a great support later on. The command structure was totally different. The Unity had a transport ability, leader specific power, the heal area effect, and so the only command power Coveys had were their hero abilities, but it could be used indefinitely at the cost of constantly draining resources. Okay, so again, he's further explaining Halo Wars 1. I'm guessing this guy prefers the way Halo 1 was, how there was distinct differences between the Unity and the Covenant, and that no longer exists in Halo Wars 2. And I'm of the same impression. I much prefer the way it was in Halo Wars 1, where there were stark differences between the Covenant and the UNSC, and that doesn't exist in Halo Wars 2. Afterthoughts: this whole argument is based on the assumption that the beta shows exactly what direction the devs have taken the game in. I'm praying and hoping the final will go down in a whole other direction. I agree. Everything has been so streamlined now that in Halo Wars 2, unit types, infantry, armor, air will act the same. On the surface, Halo Wars 2 may seem more complex, but it's not. Halo Wars 1 was definitely more complex than the beta. Each topic, okay, yeah. I don't think you don't need to put titles on each paragraph. Just have paragraphs. Yeah. But overall, I agree with what you're saying. But yeah, it's kind of sad the way they've gone with this Halo Wars 2. Okay, so I think one more from the top comments. So CT, whatever the fuck his name is. All I heard the entire video was not like the original game. Keep it the same, change it back, etc. The changes are so damn minuscule that they aren't even worth mentioning. That's a lie. There's so many changes that are huge. I mean, the biggest one I can think of is the way tech is done and the way they added a second resource. I hate those two changes, but we already know that. New designs for crates, outrageous. Why didn't they port Halo Wars 1 over on a new engine? There was no need to change the crates, but they can change the crates if they want. Fine. It was just my opinion, of course. Only one Spartan, but he actually feels like a Spartan instead of a Marine with a shield. But wouldn't you enjoy the fact that you could have 5 Spartans on the battlefield? If you want to play as one Spartan, then just play Halo 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's an RTS. Don't you want multiple Spartans? Who wouldn't? To say that you agree with having one Spartan is just, I don't know, stupid. More than one resource? Too hard for me. Yeah, again, I've said why I don't like two resources. Infantry actually being useful for something other than a sacrifice to the Covenant. OP. God, this guy is so sarcastic. It's hilarious. Why aren't there giant flashing lights, sirens when you hover over a crate? Do they expect me to use my eyes? It was just a little gripe I had with the Halo Wars 2, where they changed it to a way of displaying when a unit could pick up crates, which was worse than the original. It's like when you use an inferior method. Sure, it works, but it's worse. So that's why I mentioned it in my video. Warhogs can't pick up resources anymore because they aren't the scale unit of the UNSC in the game. They're a mainline vehicle actually meant for combat this time, which I love. Okay, so about the Warhogs, I agree that they were very OP in Halo Wars. I just think the reason they were OP was the rate at which you could upgrade to Gauss was far too quick, because it was only Tech 3. I think if they had put it as Tech 4, then it would have been a lot, I don't know, fairer for many more counter methods to the Hogs. But in Halo Wars, it's, I agree, very difficult to counter the Hogs. But it is doable, of course. But you got to know what you're doing. And so, yeah, I mean, I reckon Hogs should have been Tech 4. But I still think in Halo Wars 2, they should definitely have been in the main base. I mean, I love the fact that in Halo Wars 1, you can go around picking up crates with 5 Hogs at a time. That's, I don't know, it's just something that I like about the game. And they took that away for no reason. Starting turrets so you can't get bash rush 30 seconds into the game. How gay. I love losing a game by the 1 minute mark. It's a bit of an exaggeration. Yeah, as I said, I wouldn't be playing Halo Wars 1 if I didn't learn to rush. It's just, I'm sure I turtle sometimes, but I like rushing mostly. And it's what has made me stay with the game. So if you want to not lose at the 1 minute mark, then you learn how to counter or rush. It's just as simple as that. How dare they actually encourage people to play a full-length game with more than just spamming the starter unit. All in all, I'm incredibly salty that you pretty much bashed the game for trying to change just enough to warrant a sequel. No, what I wanted when I said I wanted them to improve off the build upon Halo Wars 1, not strip it bare and then start from there. They just added things and took away things for like no reason, and I don't know why. I'm not asking for a glorified DLC. I'm asking to build upon Halo Wars 1. Don't take away things from Halo Wars 1 and then add little things that just have no rhyme or reason. Oh god, that shit triggers me, dude. Anyway, there's lots more. The game is not out for like 7 months, yes. So I don't see your point in that. Yeah. Actually, one more. This guy did 69 points. Giggity. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna read that. Too long. Alright, so now we'll go to the recent comments. The newest first. Fuck that shit. Fuck that rushing shit. How was that fun? I now understand the dislikes. Well, yep. I also understand why there are dislikes. Because people seem to hate rushing. But then, why don't other people who are Halo Wars rushing YouTubers, like, I don't get why they don't get lots of dislikes if everyone fucking seems to hate rushing. Like, why aren't there 50-50 on their videos? Why did all the haters of rushing watch my video? I just don't understand. Okay. 9 out of 10 things you mention are all problems simply because it's a beta that will obviously be fixed upon final production. The last 1 out of 10 things you say are just you wanting it to be exactly the same as Halo Wars. The reason so much has changed is to cater to the Halo player who's more evolved than those from the days of the original Halo Ward. I think he's trying to say Halo Wars. I only agree with the complaints about population limit and the population count of some units. As far as damage and everything, I have a feeling those are simply bugs or miscalculations that should have been noticed from the beta and will be rectified upon final release. Now, I don't agree with the 9 out of 10 things being simply because it's a beta. I think it's simply because the design choices they made. And hopefully they watched this video and they changed them, because they are changes that don't need to be in Halo Wars 2. I mean, Ensemble Studios made Halo Wars 1 and they're the RTS gods. Why would you change a formula that's already been proven to be so effective? It just boggles my mind. And yeah, I agree with 99%. Okay, you're right. Gotta say, you're dead wrong about Hogs. Honestly, it was ridiculous that Gauss was that strong. Okay, I will agree that Gauss was pretty strong. I mean, he shouldn't be able to do that much damage to buildings. I mean, it wasn't that strong against tanks, because tanks could definitely counter Hogs quite easily. But I think they did a bit too much damage to buildings. Yep. Sorry to be a nitpicker, but the Brute Warlord isn't Aatrox. It's just a high-ranking Brute. But everything else I agree on. Takes like 5 minutes for a tank to kill a squad of Marines. Yep. Are you sure? It's just a random Lord? It isn't Aatrox? To me, it looked pretty much like Aatrox. No, it's definitely Aatrox. It fucking said. Anyway, never mind. I think you're just pissed because they're making the game more fair for new players. How? How am I pissed just because of that? How is Halo Wars not fair for new players? You watch the tutorials, watch videos online. It's like any game. You have to get used to it. What, you want people just be fucking pros of the game as soon as they get in? No. I hate to say it, but if all they did was upgrade the old game, then what's the point? I do agree that the game does seem disappointing, but it introduces a lot of new ways to think and keep players guessing. But I already missed the scrub. I think he's trying to say scarab. I think I said this before, but yeah. I just wanted them to build upon Halo Wars 1. Not simply port Halo Wars to the Xbox One. I just wanted them to build upon and refine and add more units, add more factions, on all that kind of, good improvement. I mean, sure, Halo Wars 1 wasn't perfect. I can agree with that, but it definitely played very well. I guess there's a reason why Age of Empires sold millions more copies than the Total War series. There isn't one huge glaring thing wrong, just 100 small issues. Unfortunately, these mostly aren't glitch issues that will get ironed out, but fundamental design issues. Yep, you're very right. It's obvious that the difference in design teams. Ensemble knew exactly what it took to make a fluid, fun, balanced, interesting civilization game. It feels like 343 and Creative made major departures. Yep, you're very right. And unfortunately, it was away from everything that made the original so playable. The unit balance is way off. The controls went from intuitive to painful, and the changes don't seem to have any real thought or design behind them. Just flung shit at a wall changes. Holy shit, this guy gets it, dude. They also didn't give us the one change everybody wanted, even in the original, the third playable Civ. Yep. I mean, maybe some sort of... I mentioned this in some videos, but maybe a Forerunner. I don't want fucking Prometheans. He'll get that shit away from me. But definitely a Forerunner or Flood faction would have been fun to see. Every Bungie Halo product, everybody loved every little thing about them. And now it feels like I'm having to make excuses for every little thing about these 343 releases. Mediocre. This guy gets the seal of approval. I like this guy. It's not the minority. Everybody hates hog rushes. I hate rushes in general. Oh, dude, that is actually really cute. I'm just... Agreed. Halo Wars 1 geeked much better. I don't know what that's... Your entire video is flawed. The developers even said it's more like a pre-alpha. Where did they say it's a pre-alpha? Why wouldn't they just call it an alpha? Why would they call it a beta? It's actually a beta. A lot of content is held back. Okay, but why can't I make a video based upon what I know from the beta? Sure, okay, so it's a beta. I reviewed the beta. So you just want me to wait until the game's out and I can't change anything? Help them with anything? No. They're just testing... wrong there. They're just testing the base mechanics. Oh my god. And not the maximum pop limit. How do you know that? How do you know that that isn't the final population? We have no... Why didn't they tell us that? Doesn't make sense. Delete this video and watch as it becomes completely irrelevant when it launches. I'm afraid that this video will most likely become very relevant. And we can just see that they didn't listen to people like me. Hopefully there are more people like me. And yeah, we'll see what a shit game Halo Wars 2 turns out to be. I'd have to disagree on the generators. Consumable energy is an element in any strategy games out today and requires a bit more strategic planning to manage effectively. I'm excited that in the game and can't wait to learn how to integrate it into new playstyles. That's your opinion. I'm not going to bash you on that opinion. But yeah, I don't agree with it. But sure, you can... That's one opinion. Yeah. Okay. Moira Williamson. A chick is commenting on my video, guys. Oh my god. I agree with you on Halo Wars 2 being utter crap. I didn't expect much from 343 Industries anyway. People continue to buy their games expecting it to be great, but nothing has changed, except for the decent campaign story in Halo 5 Guardians. I thought people much preferred the multiplayer to the campaign. Anyway, I do not plan on purchasing any more Halo games due to the fact that the game itself is no longer Halo, and that was made Halo, and that was what made Halo Halo. I feel like 343 is taking too much from other games and taking away from what made the game original. I loved Halo Wars, but this adaptation from the game is just too lazy to be called a finished game. 343 puts too much money into their shitty cartoon graphics when they should be putting it into the way the game plays, etc. I'm sure many would agree with this opinion, but personally I don't care for Halo anymore. All of it is boring and crappy. It reminds me of COD, and I don't want to play a COD game. I want to play a game that was original from the start, not some stolen concepts to catch more fans for money. Hope your word gets out. I'd most likely buy it if it was like the original. Nice video. Yeah, so as I said in the comment below, it's Creative Assembly making the game, but thank you for your comment. I'm glad you agree with me. Oh, God. Correct title: Everything Wrong with Halo Wars Judged by a Noob. I think that you, sir, are a noob yourself, so I wouldn't be going around telling me that I'm a noob. Anyway. Anyway, guys, I think that's going to be it. I reviewed many comments, but I do appreciate you guys commenting on my video, regardless of how many of you disagree with me. It's YouTube. What are you going to do? But I was just very surprised at how many people disagree with me. I mean, from what it seems like it's a very polarizing, I don't know, issue. 50-50 it seems like, whatever. I always thought the video was going to get 90% likes, 10% dislikes. But you know, what are you going to do? It's not a huge issue. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. There probably won't be many more videos like this in the future, but please give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and comment down below what you thought of Halo Wars 2. And consider subscribing for more Halo Wars and potentially Halo Wars 2 content if the game isn't shit. Anyway, thanks guys. Cheers.